Good evening and welcome to Community ISD's State of the 2022 Bond. I'd like to welcome you that are in the audience tonight and also those of you that are joining on our Facebook Live tonight. As we move forward, I'm going to do a short presentation for you to give you an update on where we are with our 2022 bond program. And then at the end, we will have an opportunity for all of you to ask questions, and we will be answering those. If you are online, you can put your questions in the chat, and then we will address those questions at the end of the presentation. If you're in the audience, we are going to limit your questions to 2 minutes. And that way we can make sure that we address all of the questions that we have tonight. So we will move on. Don't forget, online folks, put yours in the chat, and Mr. Welch will be letting me know what those questions are when we get to the end of the presentation. So we'll start off with why are we having this State of the 2022 Bond Forum for you, our community, and that was because it was a request when we did this bond program, when we campaigned and talked about the bond, when we gave all of the facts for the bond. We were asked several times if we would be updating the community on the progress of the bond as we move through the bond program. So we will be having a State of the Bond each year, letting our community know what projects have been completed and what projects are yet to come. So we'll start off tonight with our presentation and just briefly go back over why did we need this bond. We have a lot of new people in our community, people who weren't here when we went out for this bond and when this bond was passed. So we just want to reiterate the reasons that we decided to go out for the bond, the reason that the board voted to have an election and to ask our community for the bond program. So these were our three main reasons that we were working with at that time. We knew that we were going to have at least 7,500 new homes by 26-27, that all of our campuses were going to be over capacity in 23-24, and that we were going to have at least 6,000 students enrolled in Community ISD by 26-27. We are currently setting at 4,650 students in the district as of this year, so we know we are trending towards that number quickly. What was proposed in the bond? There's been several questions just recently about what the bond included and what it did not include. So tonight we just want to make sure that we review what was approved in the bond program, what was brought to the board from our facilities committee, and then what the board approved and was put out for an election in May of 2022. We had three propositions with the bond program. Proposition A was in the amount of $595 million. That was to include 4 new elementary schools, Dodson, Elevon, Ellis, and Riverside. We also had 2 new middle schools, number 2 and number 3, additions to the high school, a second academic wing to expand the cafeteria, additional CTE spaces to expand the gym, a 9th grade center or a third expansion of some sort for when we reached over 2,100 students in the high school, renovations to McClendon and Neesmith, renovations to Edge Middle School, a new ag facility, a new administration building, new support facilities, additions and renovations, additional land properties, and a project manager. Proposition B was in the amount of $19,338,000, and that was for stadium upgrades, a press box, restroom, seating, additional parking for our stadium. Proposition C was $35 million, and that was for a multi-purpose indoor facility, full-length field, locker rooms, and classrooms. What happened in the May 2022 election, for those of you who were not here in our community when that election took place? Proposition A, there were 974 votes for Proposition A, 641 votes against Proposition A. Proposition B, which was the stadium, there's 827 against, 772 for. Proposition C, 853 against, 751 for. And so Proposition A was the only proposition of the 3 that passed, and so the district moved forward with a $595 million approved bond program. Just a real quick brief review of how school finance works. As I went and presented the bond program over and over when we were talking about the bond, we talked a lot about buckets and how the buckets of money work from the state and from property taxes. And so the school basically has 2 buckets of money that we use for budgeting everything that we pay for. The M&O bucket is maintenance and operations, and that's kind of our daily budget, what we spend money on a daily basis. Approximately 75% of our M&O budget is salaries for our staff members. We've increased staff members, of course, as our numbers have continued to grow, and so most of our money on our M&O side goes to paying those people who work in our district. On the other side, the other bucket of money is our interest and sinking money. That's actually how we pay our debt payments. That money is separate, and we gain tax money for that with a separate rate. So those 2 things are separate, and we pay for only those things that are approved by a bond out of the INS bucket. Who sets the community ISD's tax rate? This was a question that came up a lot when we were doing the bond program, so I wanted to just quickly review this. The INS rate, that side that we're going to pay our debt with, is capped at a 50 cents per 100 valuation property value, and the district community ISD is at that 50-cent cap. The M&O rate is set by the Texas Education Agency, and it's been lowered by TEA over the last 3 years each year. It was also lowered again this year when we set our tax rate for this year. So there's a lot of confusion on tax rate and property value. The school district does not set the property value or evaluate anyone's home or property. All we do is set the actual rate, and we get that rate from the Texas Education Agency, and then our INS rate is set at the capped value of 50 cents. Just real quick, I wanted to see where we were and where we've come because that was all the prediction at the time. I pulled this information from our second quarter report from our demographer so he could kind of keep us up to date with where we are this year in 2023. So in 2023, divided by our elementaries, currently we have Dodson Elementary, McClendon Elementary, Neesmith Elementary, and Roderick Elementary. These are looking at the annual home starts in each of these areas, each of these attendance zones. And so you will see that in Dodson, we've had 400 homes started in 2023 in the Dodson area, 244 in the Roderick area. Go ahead and you can move across there and see quarterly starts, annual closings, quarterly closings, and then under construction. But what I really want you to look at is on the far side of this chart to see the vacant development lots and then the future lots within those attendance zones. So in Dodson, there are 6,640 future lots that are planned and approved in that attendance zone. And then the 2,600 and 2,300, Neesmith has 147 future lots in that area. So there's a lot of growth still happening. From what we looked at before we passed this bond, we are trending very close to exactly what they told us. So total for our 4 elementaries right now, there are 11,779 future lots for new homes to come into our district. This is a view of our district right now. It's changed over the last couple of years. You can identify some of the areas here are subdivisions. They are housing developments that are going in across the district. That's what the green and the yellow indicate. The green indicates an active subdivision. The yellow indicates a future subdivision. If there's a red block around that, it means that there are actually groundwork is underway or there's progress being done in that development. We currently have 26 actively building subdivisions, and we have 15 future subdivisions in the district. Of those, groundwork is underway on more than 2,300 lots with within 6 of the subdivisions. So there's a lot of things going on here. We're talking about in this area subdivisions that are coming into the district. Also let you know that we've got other things that are coming. We have 3 apartment complexes that are planned to come into our district. We have 3 small single-family rentable 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom detached homes. They are called multiple things. One development's calling them casitas. One development's calling villas. I think the other one's calling them cottages, but they're all the same thing. Each of those have from 200 to 300 of those rentable homes in those areas. The 3 apartment complexes and those 3 areas are things that we don't see show up on our developments and our subdivisions, but they will bring kids into our district, and they will also bring property value into our district. This is an area that we've looked at continuously. We continue to check this on a quarterly basis when we get this information from our demographer. We wait for this to kind of see what our plans are. This is how we've been staffing. This is how we've been budgeting in the district. So this is the latest. This is from quarter 2 of 2023. And as you'll notice at the bottom of 23-24, a district total, it says 4,684 students. That's a projected number for our district for October the 30th. So by the end of October, we are projected to have 4,684 students. We currently have 4,650 students, and so we are right there on that projected number. I think this is the closest we've been in the time that I've been here to that actual projected number. If you look out across this number, you'll see that by 2032-33, we are predicted to have 12,000 students in community ISD. So our goal as we look at this is try our best to stay out in front of some of this growth and make sure that we have all the needs of our students met as we move through this bond program. So what have we done so far? Sometimes when I think back to this, it's hard for me to believe it's just been a little over a year that we passed this bond, because we've done a lot of work over the last year. So I want to talk to you about what projects we've completed. We've kind of flown through about 40% of this bond in trying to meet the needs of our students in our district. And so some of the projects that have been completed, the first one we'll talk about briefly is Dodson Elementary. Dodson Elementary opened on the first day of this school year on August the 7th of 23. It has a capacity of 750 students, pre-K through 5th grade. It was named after Mary Lou Dodson, a former CISD educator. Dodson Elementary's design was the same design that we use at Roderick Elementary. We save on our design. We did a few tweaks to make sure we were meeting the needs and kind of evaluating what would make it better. But we used that same design and replicated it to save the district and create the consistency across the district for all of our students. This is a picture of Dodson, gives you a little better view of exactly what it looks like. Here's Dodson from the front. Beautiful campus, just like Roderick is a beautiful campus, has traits of the brave on the outside. We've been very pleased and excited about getting into this building in August. We had teachers ready in July to get in there, so we're excited about that. Another project that we've completed this year has been the McClendon Elementary Phase 1. McClendon and Neesmith have a 2-phase project that's going on during this bond program. And so we've completed Phase 1 and we're working on Phase 2. One of the challenges that we had while we were talking about this bond was the challenge of making sure that every student in Community ISD was proud of where they went to school and had a place that was a safe, learning environment that they could come to school and be successful in. And so we wanted to make sure that McClendon and Neesmith were brought up to the same standards that we were providing in these new buildings. So the completed project for McClendon Elementary in Phase 1 was redoing all of the floors, the walls, the bathrooms, the fixtures, really sprucing up and replacing some of the older things that we had in those buildings to provide the very best for our students. The awning in the front of McClendon and Neesmith were also added for protection. We've also changed up the entryway and the reception area for safety purposes so that the people in those offices can see people coming in, and there's a safety vestibule that they enter into without having access to our students. So we're very proud of that. I'll talk about Phase 2 in just a little bit. McClendon, of course, is one of our dual language campuses. It has a capacity of 750 students currently, pre-K through 5th grade. It was named after Carlene McClendon, a former CISD educator. This is a picture of the new awning on the outside of the building. It's been great, especially on some of those rainy or cold, windy days. And so we have really welcomed this addition to the front of that building. Any of you that have been in McClendon in the past and have not seen the changes that have taken in there will be very impressed with how things look now. Very clean, very new and shiny, and just a great environment for our students, a positive environment. It's brighter. Every time I walk in there, that's the feeling I get, a brighter place for our kids to come and learn. And so we're very excited about that. The library, of course, was redone as well. You can see the natural light coming in. It's a very nice space for our students to come to and be very proud of as we provide the very best for our kids. We've also completed the same type of project at Neesmith Elementary with their phase 1. The elementary that was the second elementary for this district was built in 2008. It has a capacity of 750 students, pre-K through 5th grade. It was named after Phyllis Neesmith, a CISD former educator. We're very proud to say we've done the same thing in Neesmith that we did in McClendon. We went in and redid all the floors, all of the walls. We did bathrooms and fixtures and really tried to make it look newer and fresher and brighter for our students. This is a picture of the new awning on the front of the building at Neesmith. This is one of the hallways. Those of you that have been there before probably saw a maroon and teal turquoise color palette that was in both of these campuses. That has now been changed, and it's all the blue and gold true brave colors throughout the building. This is a library at Neesmith, and that sunlight coming in there as well. Very fresh and clean and bright for our students. Another project that we've completed so far with the bond is our bus lot, phase 1. This will have a second phase to it as we move forward. We are now running 28 plus routes, which just sounds crazy as we continue to grow the number of buses that we're having to run. We're running 28 routes for our elementary campuses and then 28 for our secondary campuses, plus a few more extra routes for some of our special programs and some of our other places that we transport students. And so we ran out of space to secure our buses and to park our buses and for our drivers to be able to get in and out of safely. And so we did take the former football field from Community ISD and converted that into phase 1 of our bus lot. Small building there is for where the keys and things will be handed out to the drivers in the mornings, and we're also going to add restroom facilities to that building. There's a picture of some of our buses there. We are currently using the old football stadium lights, but we're working on what new light poles will actually be in this area and how this will be lit and secure for our buses. So those are the projects that we have completed in this bond program. We also did, not included in here, we also did an upgrade to what used to be the old ag shop, I'm told, before I got here. And then it turned into a professional development center, and it is now called our Brave Center. And that area has been turned into our DAEP and our C's facility to service our students who need those programs. Currently, we have a couple of things under construction that we want you to be aware of. The first thing that's under construction is our McClendon Elementary Phase 2. As you can see in this picture, our Phase 2 is an addition to McClendon. It's an 8-classroom addition with some restrooms as well. One of the things that I want to focus on, you knowing that these 8 classrooms there are being built to also be a storm shelter. So when this is finished and ready for us to occupy in January of this school year, we will have a storm shelter on all of our elementary campuses that will house all of the students on that campus. And so this addition will be coming on. We'll open that in January. In addition, next summer, we will be looking at the roof area and all the the things you really don't see as much. The roof, the air conditioners, really looking to see what other repairs or replacements we need to do on these during the phase 2 area. This classroom addition will increase the capacity of McClendon Elementary to 900. So we'll go from a 750 capacity to a 900 capacity in McClendon when this is complete. There's also going to be a little courtyard in between the two spaces for teachers to use for outdoor education, outdoor activities. It's a picture of that. Those of you that are wondering what is that construction still going on back there, this is our phase 2 or part of our phase 2, and this will be completed when students return from their Christmas break. We'll be ready to start looking at how soon we can move into this area and occupy that. A little bit closer up, where of course these pictures, we're making progress every day, so they're probably a little bit outdated, but we are making progress on getting this complete. Neesmith Elementary has the same thing. You'll notice that their courtyard between the original building and this new shelter is a little bit smaller, and that's because our property line is right at the edge of those trees, and so we had to scoot this as close to the building as we possibly could. And so, but they will also get those 8 classrooms in there, restrooms, and the storm shelter that will move their capacity up as well. So another picture here on the back side. Those of you that have seen those campuses know we had to reroute how we were dropping kids off and picking kids up. But this is the reason that we had to do that. We wanted to be able to add this space and also that shelter to these campuses. Under construction, we also have, very excited about having our Community Trails Middle School. Our Community Trails Middle School is just off of 483. It's on the same site as our Dodson Elementary campus that was just completed. So it's just adjacent to that campus on 483. And it is scheduled to open in August of 2024. It will serve 6th through 8th grade. We are really busting at the seams at Edge. We've got our 6th graders over in Ellis because we don't have enough room in the Edge building for them. So next year we'll split those two campus. We'll split that campus, and half of those middle school students will go to Community Trails Middle School. Those attendance zones won't be released until spring, and I know there's been lots of questions about why don't you just tell us? Why don't you show us, what those look like? And the reason that we're holding off on that is because the developments across the district happen at different rates, and what we say may produce kids today, another development may put more houses on the ground by April, and then that shifts where everybody will go to school. And so we wait until we know where students are going to be coming from, what houses are going to be on the ground, what houses will be producing kids, so that we can get these two campuses as even as we possibly can. At Community Trails Middle School, there is a football field just in the back there, if you'll see, with a track. We also have a practice gym and a competition gym in this facility, along with CTE classes, library, classrooms, and a fine arts area, and CTE area. So very excited about this campus. It's going to be a beautiful campus. I think that we're going to be very proud of what this looks like when we get done. Very excited about moving into this area in August of 24. This is another picture of that campus. The front of the campus is actually there where you see all those cars parked. And the middle area there where that awning is on there is where the entrance is to this facility. On this side of the screen, the bottom part of the screen, that's a classroom wing, 2-story classroom wing. On the other side, the top of the screen, is the gym, the cafeteria, and the practice gym. So that area. This is another view of the Community Trails Middle School. And there it is. This campus is Ellis Elementary. This is another replica of the same design that we've used in our elementary campuses. This campus is under construction in Josephine, just off Main Street, between Main Street and Greenville. And it is scheduled to open in August of 24 as well. So in August of next year, we will be open a middle school campus and an elementary campus on two opposite sides of our district. This will serve pre-K through 5th grade and will take up some of the overcrowding that we're beginning to see on that side of the district. This is another picture of Ellis. It looks very similar to the other campuses. And then what else have we done with this part of the bond so far? So we have also acquired land. Land was a part of the bond program, and what we wanted to do as a district was to find the best places for our students, to acquire land for our students to have campuses across the district that they could attend. And so far, the things that we've done, we did have 2 areas in the Elevon development. If any of you are familiar with that, that's a development that's just on right at 78 and 6. And there's planned to be 4,500 plus homes in that development. There's actually 7 different builders that are building in that development. We have a site in the northern part of that development and a site in the southern part of that development. We have a donated site by John Marlin and his development group on the southern part of that development, and then we have a purchase site in the northern part of that development. That design will be, elementary number 6 will be the same design that we've used in our other campuses. That elementary will be named Elevon Elementary. That was part of the donation agreement with this development group, is that they would get to give input into what the name of that elementary would be, and that is what they have requested that to be. So the other site, the southern site, is not a site that will be covered, a campus that will be covered by this bond program. It will be something for the future. So it will be a future site that the district will have to decide on going out for an additional bond, and then when in the future they would want to do that, they will already have the land available to build that campus on. With 4,500 homes in one development, that development will fill both of those campuses. We also acquired land at Nicholson Ranch. So we bought 59 acres out of a Nicholson Ranch project, which is right off of 483. And it is a housing development that is coming in there very close to Bear Creek. And that is the site of Dodson Elementary and Community Trails Middle School. Going to serve that side of the district as we move forward. We also bought 81 acres in the Josephine area. That's where you see Ellis Elementary, showed the construction of that. And then it will be the Community Creek Middle School in the future. So middle school number 3 will be on that 81 acres as well. That will serve those students on the west side. We also have a donated tract inside the Riverfield development, which is just off 6 in Josephine. It's a site that was donated by D.R. Horton for our elementary number 7. We don't have a name for elementary number 7 at this point, but we'll be working towards that as we get closer to building that site. This will serve 800 homes in the Riverfield development. It will have the same design as our other elementaries in the district. When we say it'll serve 800 homes, Riverfield development is going to be much larger than 800 homes, but only 800 homes will be inside the Community ISD district. The rest, the northern part of Riverfield, will be in the Caddo ISD district. So we'll have one elementary in there to serve the homes that are within our district. So that's all of the land that we have acquired, and we were a good place. We now have land for all of our projects that we have. And so where are we with the next step? So things are under construction. We've built things, and now we have to look at what are we designing, what's our next phase. And so we have several things that are in a design phase right now. The first one is the Community High School Phase 1 addition. This is bringing our high school capacity up to 1,600. We're currently at an 1,100 student capacity, and we're right at, I think our number today was 1,197. So we're right at that 1,200 mark, so we're creeping up. So this project would get us up to that 1,600 capacity, allow us a little bit of space for a couple of years. It's scheduled to open in 2025. It will expand our cafeteria and our new classrooms. These are renderings of what it will look like. It will just be an extension of that classroom wing that will come down off the east side of the campus. Our cafeteria will be expanded. It will be moved out and just made a little bit larger to accommodate the students here. This is the inside rendering of what the cafeteria will look like, just a much longer area. We'll be redoing the stage area and the PA system. We'll also be adding restrooms into this area, much easier to monitor with those restrooms inside the cafeteria area. We also are designing at this point the Agriculture Science Center, our new ag barn. It is going to double the size of our current barn. It provides additional opportunities. It's going to be located closer to the high school campus, just beside our current CTE building that is there now. This is a rendering of what that ag barn is going to look like. This is the inside. We will actually have a small arena area where we can host jackpots and our students can practice showing their animals. And then we'll have stalls, of course, for the animals, hogs on one side, and then our sheep and goats, and then our cattle all separated throughout the barn. We are also designing at this point our Career and Technical Education Center. This is an additional building to be added to our CTE building that is currently there. It'll allow us to add new programs of study, and it will be a secure way for us to have public come in and interact. As we are doing different pathways that have public interaction with sales or with services, we want a secure place to be able to do that. So this will provide that as well. This is the outside of that building. It will be turned a little bit different than the current building that is there, but it will be attached to that current building. This is the back rendering of that building that we'll be adding on here. This is the inside. It will have an area that will be more like a store for the programs that are there, floral department. There'll be flowers there or other items that we'll be selling there. If you're coming to get your hair done in cosmetology or get something done with the auto, you'll come in this way to register and to make an appointment or see whoever you need to see. The new floral area will be in this building. We are growing out of our cosmetology space in the current building, and so the cosmetology will spread over into the current floral area for a second classroom, and the floral department will be in the new area. We're also designing at this point a new admin building. We currently have some administrators housed in the old Ellis area, and then we have 2 portable buildings that we have the remainder of those central office staff members in. And so we will be looking at the design of this new admin building and moving all those people over into that space and getting rid of those portable buildings that we pay monthly for. This will be located on the former Little League baseball fields and will be here on the main campus. This is an outside view of what that administration building will look like. This is an aerial view of that building. Here is the planned boardroom for our Board of Trustees meetings and business. This is one of the conference rooms. This is actually the board conference room. The board will be having their executive sessions and any trainings that they have to have. This is our C&I department, curriculum and instruction department, and their workspaces that they will be occupying. This is one of the hallways with some of our receptionists and our secretaries and other offices that are in there. So that is a lot that we've either built or we're designing and getting ready to build, but we also have, with $595 million, we also have a lot of things that are still coming up. So the future projects that we still need to build to make sure that we have met what the voters told us they wanted us to build, and that is Elementary school number 6, which will be Elevon, that will be in 2027 or later, depending on how fast growth comes and how much financial capacity we have as a district. ES number 7, which will be in Riverfield subdivision, 2029 or later. We have Community Creek Middle School in 2028 or later. Service building, Edge Middle School expansion, the bus lot phase 2, and the high school phase 2, 2029 or later. Just to give you an idea of what we've already done so far, I've told you that we've done a lot. We spent about 40%. We've completed about 40% of this bond program. We had a $595 million bond that passed. And so one of the things that I said repeatedly when we were working on this bond was we don't get that $595 million immediately. Nobody rolls up with a big truck of cash for us to start spending. We sell those bonds throughout the years that we need them, and as our district has the financial capacity to pay for them. So we don't ever want to sell bonds if we don't have the financial capacity to pay for them. So we've sold them over this last year at different times during the year to meet the needs that we had at that time. We do take in consideration the property values and what capacity we have. As of September 2023, we have sold $239.5 million out of the $595 million, which leaves us over $300 million that we still need to spend towards our projects. Everything is staying within budget, and we believe we still have a budget that will be able to deliver those things that we just went over on that other slide. There's been a lot of questions about future bond sales and what will we look at next, and when will we look at that. Just want to reiterate with you that we really look at those numbers when we get to our taxable values. When we find out what our taxable values are, we get preliminary values in April, and we get certified values in July. That gives us an idea if we have enough property value to be able to pay for the bonds that we need to sell. So we're watching two things. We're watching what are the needs of our kids, what space do we need, how do we take care of the people in our district, and then when do we have the financial capacity to pay for those things, because we never want to get out and overextend ourselves as a district and not be able to pay for those things that we are building or getting for the district. Some upcoming challenges that we're looking at as we try to complete this bond program and give our community exactly what they asked for during this bond program is there's inflation across all industries and groups. I'm sure all of you know that if you went and bought a gallon of milk in May of 2022 and you walked in today and bought a gallon of milk, you're probably paying almost double for that gallon of milk. That's happened across all industries, including construction and all the trades that go with that. And so we're challenged with always working really hard. We have a fantastic group of people who work, WRA and Poe Construction, along with Julie Sands, our Chief of Construction and Design, meet weekly to find ways for us to stretch every dollar that we have to meet the needs of our kids. Number 2, homestead exemption hurt school districts. Just want you guys to understand that as taxpayers, everybody's very excited about the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption going from $40,000 up to $100,000 in evaluation. And while as taxpayers we're all very excited about that, and that will be voted on, and I doubt very seriously there's any chance of that not becoming a thing that happens. But what that does to school districts is that takes away $100,000 off of the property values per those evaluations. And so the property values we're working with to find out if we have financial capacity or not drop tremendously with that $100,000 exemption hitting the school districts. The state has said that we're going to be covered with a hold harmless formula, but that hold harmless formula has not been posted yet, and it is very unlikely that it will cover the full hit that those exemptions have on the total property values. And so when we will see our property values start to jump will be when we start to see those commercial properties come into our district. And so there are several things coming. When Starbucks hits the ground, that will be an increase in our property taxes. When the businesses start to develop in other in our district within the different towns, then we will see an increase in our property values and our capacity for being able to sell bonds, and our capacity for being able to pay for all of these things will increase. Of course, when you increase houses, it increases the property value too, but houses generate kids, which just kind of compounds. You're just paying for what came out of that house. And so when you start getting commercial properties that aren't producing additional kids, those property values can stand alone and will increase your overall value. So what's next? We do realize that we have growth that is coming, and that the growth is creating needs beyond what was in this bond program. When I told you earlier that we're going to be at 12,000 kids, what this bond program is about will not take care of 12,000 kids. And we know that's coming, and we know we've got to prepare for that. But we also have a responsibility as a district to be fiscally responsible in that planning, and not to get out over our skis, not to get out overextended, so that we're not able to pay for the things that we need to pay for. We do understand that there is a need in our district for a stadium. That was one thing that did not pass before, and we have realized it even more, that we are really getting to the point where that is an issue and a concern. We are currently, I told you earlier, we're currently at 1197. The cutoff for a 5A district in the last realignment was at 1299, and so we are within 50 to 100 kids. There's a rumor it's going to be 1250, so the 50 to 100 kids of moving into that 5A classification. And so there is definitely a need for facilities. These facilities were built for 2A districts, and so there's that need for the larger facilities to accommodate the size programs that we're going to be having. However, the board and the district are going to have to start exploring, how do we make that happen? How do we carefully watch our financial capacity? How do we make sure that we're putting campuses on the grounds and at the same time meeting the needs of those programs? So a new stadium was not in this bond program, but could be something that the board and the district looks at for future bonds and bond programs as we move forward. Any questions? That was quick to me.
Dr. Knowlton, while we wait and see if there's any questions in the audience, we do have two from social media. They are both from Patricia Peckham. First, she asked, will Edge get any upgrades, which you did cover that one, but if you'll go ahead and say again what the Edge upgrades are going to be.
Yes. So Edge will be getting an addition that will also be a shelter. So we want to make sure that campus has a shelter built as well. So we make sure all of our campuses have shelters. That addition that will be a shelter will include additional classrooms. So we'll have that area that will be added to the Edge campus.
And her second question was about Roderick. Whether or not and when the fields will be completed to where it can be used by the Pee Wee Leagues.
Okay. The fields are complete at this point. We resodded and put in a sprinkler system into that area this summer because of the issues that we had with the dry soil and the cracking and the holes and those kind of things over there. So this summer we went in and had that totally redone and re-sodded that area. So it is ready, and I believe there is some discussion with the Pee Wee Association about using that site. So if she's not aware of that or doesn't have that information, tell her to get in touch with Mr. Heflin, and he can help direct her to wherever she needs to know to be able to use that. But we redid some fencing too, so that area would be outside the fence for the school, for the campus, and so she should be ready to go to use that.
There are no other questions in the chat at this time.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have a question for tonight?
It looks like we have no questions in the audience as well. I think we'll give maybe one more minute for questions online.
Okay. If you think of a question later on and you want to ask a question or you want more details, please email us or call us. We'll be happy to answer any questions. We want to be as transparent as possible on what we're doing with the bond, what we're completing, what we're planning. Our goal is to do everything we possibly can to get everything the community asks for in this bond and to keep it on time and in budget. And so we will continue to work hard to make sure